Stick on the hole.
TSD, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, it took me a second to unmute.
All right, thank you. I'm going to mute for a moment and then I'll turn it back on.
All right, sounds good. Let me know if you need anything.
I will. horizontal of the curve.
I am Nick.
And
All right,
so here
all
we
right,
are.
we are unmuted.
Okay,
So we are going
It's very
to go
frustrating.
ahead and start today's meeting. Welcome, everyone. This is the Personnel Administration Committee. Today is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023 at noon, and we are here in the HR Council Conference Room. Welcome to all of those joining us on Zoom. I call this meeting to order, and we'll look at number 2. If my PAC colleagues could look at the agenda, are there any changes to the agenda?
Did you recognize that?
I did not.
PAC members are in.
Thank you, Michelle. We have all 3 PAC members in person here in the HR conference room.
Thank you.
Are you ready for the adoption of the?
Yes,
agenda?
ma'am.
I would like a brief discussion if we can get to it in time for, having to do with the assessor's office. Moving forward.
So you're saying you're moving to add an item,
Just so we'll have a
At the
brief
end.
discussion because there's no, PAC, schedule for next month. And do we want to try to do something with this before
okay,
November?
second,
All right, we have a motion and a second to add. I'm going to call that item number 9 before adjournment to discuss that item. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. All right. Any other changes to the agenda today?
Nope.
All right. We will move forward then with item number 3. This is for the council office. I'm looking to see if Ms. Wilkes-
She's just now walking in the building.
all right, if give it a second here. Actually, should we go ahead and tackle number 4?
If you like.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and do that if our youth service bureau colleagues are okay with that.
Sure.
All right, so we're gonna move forward to item number 4 on the agenda. We have discussion of the WIS recommendation and request for a second review of a job description for the data specialist. If you could introduce yourself and tell us what's going on.
Sure. I'm Vanessa Schmidt. I'm the Deputy Director of the Youth Services Bureau. This is Emily Arthur. She is our data specialist, for the one that actually occupies this position. You may recall that we were here in May to request a reclass of this role, as it was just a new position and we had had a year to kind of look and see what those responsibilities would be, the intensity of the work, the scope of the work. However, it was our first time revising a job description and sending that back up to WIS. And so we do agree with the feedback that they initially gave, that all we did at that point in time was clarify duties. And so we didn't really look at any of the job requirements, any of the difficulty, any of the responsibility, and any changes to those personal work relationships that are also found at the end of those job descriptions. So we have reworked a lot of that and changed some things so that hopefully it is recognized the scope of this position and how it affects multiple different departments at our agency, and are still asking that this be reclassified, not only to compensate for the work that's being done, but to help with retention in this position. And so Emily is here also to speak to any specifics that, questions that people have about the job duties themselves, any other questions that you guys may have about that. And so we are asking that this be sent back up to WIS for another consideration to reclassify this position.
All right, thank you for the explanation. Let's look to PAC colleagues to see if you have any comments or questions at this moment.
Well, I mean, so generally the getting a higher classification has to do with actually giving the employee the position kind of more independence of work, greater scope of responsibility. I mean, I guess was there in your current job description that you want sent to WIS, was there a material change in the amount of independence with which this position works? And I guess why was the previous position, why did it have such a low degree of independence?
Yeah, I think initially when they created the job role in the previous year, a lot of the foundation of it was based off of the other position with a similar job title in the county, which was the data analyst position at the sheriff's department. So in the year with the first year, we realized that the scope looked a lot different and we got a new data management system at YSB, which kind of changed a lot of the independence that's happening in the role now. Like Vanessa mentioned, when we reworked the job description, that piece in particular came after job duties. So when we sent it up to WIS the first time, none of the change of independence was really touched on, and that's on us. And so the duties don't address that entirely, but when you get into responsibility, difficulty of work, and some of the other things, it does hopefully show the change of independence in the role. Yeah.
Okay.
If a question I have, which it's not specifically having to do with your department, but just in general, if you increase the job duties, are those job duties required and important to your office to operate, or is it being done anyplace else?
It is not.
Because
being done.
it would be very simple for every department to put in such things as additional independence and so forth in order to arrive at a higher job classification. But we want to make certain that it is truly needed for your department.
I would say, yeah, it's absolutely imperative for our department. These job duties do not overlap with other positions. And in fact, Emily is in charge of securing and auditing a lot of the information that people with much higher classifications are entering into these databases. And so, yeah, I would say that it is imperative. It's not being done by anybody else currently. It would be additional tasks that we have to add into someone else's job description, if it wasn't covered already in hers. Thank you.
I mean, it does appear like almost the entire job description was totally rewritten.
And
There's a lot
I
of
will
red
say,
there.
we worked on this a little, we've never reclassed a job. We've never went for a reclassification. I think even with our current director, we've never been to reclass a position. And so we did what we thought made sense, but after, their feedback and just looking at the process, and again, going over the scope and the independence of it, we realized that we definitely left out some very important information that I believe would make sense for the reclassification.
I think too, the entire rework, again, because it was based on the data analyst position, it was pretty vague, and purposefully so when the job was created. But because we know now what I'm doing and what this position's doing, we were able to hone in on a lot more specifics. So that's why there is red everywhere, and we did rework it and we're able to do that. So that's kind of why it looks like that.
All right, if Pac doesn't have any more questions, Michelle, as our administrative lead here, do you have any advice or wisdom to impart?
No, I don't. The document is, what we need. They've already sent the WIS information prior. I don't think we need anything else with regards to the WIS documents, so.
If we move forward to resubmit this to WIS, will there be an additional charge to the county?
Yes, there will.
Okay,
Question. I asked that the first charge would go back to YSB. I hope that was broken down and sent back to YSB since they have a different funding mechanism than others. I think we should at least consider that. And do we really want to send it back, or is this something we can do on our own without paying additional?
I want to address that, because they've added additional responsibilities and, maybe that kind of thing. I am not confident in saying that I could classify that appropriately. I don't have the mechanism or the information in order to do that.
I wouldn't ask you.
Yeah,
to do it.
no,
That'd
but
be
that's what I'm
us.
saying, because, and they're seeking like a Pat A to a Pat C. I really think that needs to be a WIS judgment call,
Yeah, I mean, WIS is not gonna necessarily look at what they want it to be. They're gonna look at what's
What
actually.
it's going to
That's right.
factor
That's
out,
right.
yeah.
How approximately, what does it cost to send a position to this?
I can go get our latest billing that will tell you, and that can kind of give you an idea if you want to. I know our last bill was around $3,000, but that encompassed 3 months worth of, what happened.
You don't have a sense of just what one position costs.
No.
They charge an hourly rate.
And it's an hourly rate depending on who's reviewing it. And so there's as many as 3 people that can review. They each have a different rate, and so it all depends on who's looking at it and why.
Well, so what about Counselor Hawk's question about billing to the, what contractual line and,
Well, currently, right now, everything is just going to us, and, when it was mentioned earlier, there was not well, yes, let's do it. We don't normally. Council always absorbs that, but if you want, I can forward, either the initial review, which may have been part of the one that was just done, or this second review,
And
since they're asking for a second review.
would that be a motion that we make for a specific instance, or would that be something that we would change in the job classification policy?
Either, you can do it either way. If you want a department that's seeking a second, you can do it on a per instance, or if you want to make that something part of your policy with regards to procedures, then we can look into amending that policy.
Mr. President, I'd like for us to consider that when that's coming out of a different fund, we're going to be seeing a lot of job growth in some of these other funds. And I don't think that county general, it might not always be able to carry some of these major decisions. That's the first thing. So I think we could put a motion that we would consider when they were in a separate revenue fund, not just in the same frozen levy portion. The other thing I would want to mention, having to the particular request and the job description, is that there are not very many counties in the state of Indiana that has what we have. We're blessed to have what we have, but it makes it difficult to come up with a job review. And so I think we have to rely a lot on what they're presenting as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Hawk. It does sound to me, Michelle, like the will of PAC at this point is that we would update the job classification policy. However, to do that on the fly right now, I think would be ill-advised. So if you could work with county attorneys to come up with some language that we could look at, either the council or PAC, that would be helpful. All right, let's get back to, I'm sorry, Mr. McKim.
I was saying, Molly, did you have anything to
Oh,
say?
thank you, Mr.
Yeah, I can work on amending the maintenance policy. And if we're going to amend the maintenance policy, I would suggest an additional amendment. So when appropriate, I can make that proposal so that we're not amending it twice.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Turner King. Why don't we handle the item on the agenda that we're working on? And that way, then we can move forward when you're ready or at your leisure. All right, let's get back to YSB.
yeah, I move we forward the submitted position description for data specialist to WIS for reclassification.
Do we have a second?
Oh, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to resubmit this to WIS. Is there any additional discussion? HR? No? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the ayes have it unanimously.
I will get that information sent off this week.
And just let us know.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, now that we have Council President Kate Wiltz in the room, we are going to go back up to number 3 and talk about a review of a WIS recommendation for a council administrator and an assistant council administrator. President Wiltz, what's going on here?
Well, as we know, I was here a couple of months ago, and we presented the case for new job descriptions in our office. One of which is just a rewriting of the current council administrator. And the other is a new full-time position. Those were sent to us, they were reviewed and classified. And, I assume those are part of the packet.
Yes.
They're in the packet,
There you go. So you can see how they came back, and the council budget proposed for 2024 also eliminates our entire part-time line as part of this reorganization. So in terms of a fiscal impact, I think we've done a lot towards mitigating that. Essentially, the fiscal impact for our office would be approximately equivalent to the benefits associated with the new position. I think this will help us immensely. I know on council, we've talked a little bit about the increased duties in our office and the increased level of performance that we're expecting out of our employees. So that's where we are. And hoping that you will approve the positions and the classifications.
Well, thank you, President Wells. Mr. McKim, questions or comments?
Is there action needed on the council administrator position?
Yes, because there were a change of duties as well, because it was a clarification of duties and the reporting structure.
Okay,
Mr. President,
Mhm.
I noticed that in the job duties, it's including that, what do you call it, KSA or something, the other, which was supposed to be a temporary thing until we see how it worked. I wasn't in favor of that at the time, and I still am not. That is the duty of the county council or the fiscal body, and not employees to be making those decisions for other employees. And one recently just happened that I felt was rather egregious. Whether or not a person has a background of maybe great financial abilities or something other, if it is not something that is required for a position being filled, to be able to start that out at a higher rate for the same classification as the rest of our county employees seems unfair. So I just think we need to bring that back to the council where it belongs, and hopefully wouldn't happen very often, 3 or 4 times a year at most. Right now, when we're looking at, we don't know where our budgets are going to go.
Thank you for that reminder. All right. I have a question. In the packet, it shows that there is in the, again, I'm looking at the org chart. It does show a part-time hourly line. Are we maintaining a part-time hourly line?
No, we're not. That was made prior, and that will be updated
Okay.
depending on the decisions made moving forward. So that can be removed.
Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and to begin with, the one that's being, and one of them was for these verbatim minutes.
That's
which
right.
There's many of us feel that might not be as necessary now that we were required by the state to keep records through the recorder position. So that's just not simply not needed, and that's all she's being paid for. The other dollar amounts that was like for part-time, we put in there because we had an intern. Remember when we had an intern in there just working in the council office, and we wanted to make certain there was dollars there for that, but that was just simply intern. It was not like a permanent part-time. And so for those reasons, I don't support this because I believe all the budget situation should be under the auditor's office. As I've said from the beginning, so that's no big surprise.
Yes, you've been very clear about your position, and that's
Right.
much appreciated.
okay, well, I mean, I do support it, and.
Go for it.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure there's any additional discussion needed. Move we forward the position descriptions and classifications as recommended by WIS for the county council administrator and the assistant council administrator to the full council for approval.
Second, Is there any additional conversation about the motion on the floor?
I just want to say that the Assistant Council Administrator position did come in as we expected at a Pat A. So just so that's on the record. So
All right. Anything else? All right, hearing no further conversation about this, we will, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I would like to comment that the organization chart shows that the council administrator reports to all of the county council. And while I respect the position of the president, when one of the other council members asks for something, we should never be told no. No, we're reviewing, you can't see it, no.
The ayes have it on the motion. So we will get these pushed along to the council for their review.
What meeting would you like to see this?
Would you work with the council president to schedule that? Because we're in the middle of budgets and it could get
Okay.
really tricky.
Okay,
So I trust her judgment on this.
okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
/ passing the buck.
Apologies for being late.
No worries, no worries. We're a flexible group here.
Appreciate it.
All right, let's move on to item number 5, our surveyor's office. We have a request to amend a job description for the survey technician. We have Mr. Enright Randolph here with us today and a guest. So what's going on?
Yes, hi, Tron Enright Randolph, Monroe County Surveyor. Jason George, he's our survey technician. He's been with us for several years now, so he's a company just in case we dig into any of the technical questions, just so we can be as informative as possible. Basically, the goal here is to revise the job description. The first step was hopefully move to a 35-hour to a 40-hour work week, just to really kind of meet the current operational needs of the office. This is a lot like the youth services job or request. We had created the position in 2018, but it wasn't funded until 2020. And so we just, well, that COVID occurred that same year. So we really, Jason has served as the full-time survey technician in that position as a normal kind of day-to-day operation. Through the last couple of years, or since the position has been funded, there's been a lot of duties that have been now captured and needs to be part of this job description just because it was a newly created position. Also, there's a lot of vague language in there, so it's kind of a catch-all. So this will eliminate the vague language, clearly outline the duties and responsibilities, preserve the continuity of operation, and provide a higher level of standards in our perpetuation project. Again, like I said, it was created in 2018, funded in 2020, and it was not part of the comprehensive review that was did in 2021. So it's kind of an outlier. There's certain additional duties that have been kind of taken on that were always going to be part of this job. We just didn't have that specification in the job description where they're using our Jabod survey grade equipment and going out there and collecting data points, and also tying off monuments for our perpetuation efforts, and drafting them in CAD. We have a Civil 3D, but we just use very vague language, computer aided design. So if we ever go to like a different software package, it still is captured in this job description. Those are highly skilled duties and responsibilities. So we really wanted to kind of incorporate those into the job descriptions. And also the main goal here, and this is in line with some conversations that we had with a PS that is interested in a vacant position right now, where the job really needs to be more in line as a crew chief, because this will be kind of their normal operations. And then one other thing is there's a lot of office kind of administrative duties that are separate than the assisting the PS when we're out in the field and stuff that is part of the survey technicians. So we felt like we wanted to distinguish that in the job description as well. The job description red line is pretty busy. but we did our best, and I also supplied a clean copy too. Some of it was just restructuring the paragraph, so it had kind of more of an ebb and flow to it, and some of it was actually adding the additional duties or revising the language to really kind of clarify what their responsibilities were. And with that, I open up to Pat for additional questions. Where I'm looking to maybe do this in a 2-part or 1-part kind of request, because I know that it's more the discretion of the council for the 35-40 hour work week. But I'm also fine with sending this up and then coming back and then going to the council for all just one request, but I would like some direction on that, if possible.
Sure, and before we kick it over to Pac, how did he do? Do you have anything to add to what he said?
That was a very comprehensive and description of the changes that have occurred since I took the position in summer of 21. I brought some CAD skills from my old position and it complements the job description well, and it's help future reference to obtain that position, I think, as well.
Great, well, thank you for what you do. Well, can I kick it over to Pac just real quick?
I just want to say this will help with the retention of the job, and then also I think it just really just morale as far as it's all these duties aren't caught under as assigned.
Sure.
So I thank you. I just wanted to add that.
Mr. President, I'd like to move this forward as quickly as possible. No, the hourly is not up to us, and move this forward on to Westford Ascension.
Okay, I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further conversation? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those say no, opposed say no. The ayes have it unanimously. Get this off to us.
Thank you so much.
And I, like I stated earlier, I'll get that sent off this week.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
And I'll just work with you, Kim.
Mhm.
That was so great to work with. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
All right, now we move on to our highway department. We have Ms. Lisa Ridge here with us with a request to amend a job description for an administrative assistant. What's going on here?
So, I don't reclassify very often. I've seen a lot of changes in the county in over the last year of new positions, new classifications.
Mhm.
I see the workload of this position every single day. And as other departments' workload increases, so does that position. It's always affected. We have new requirements with the auditor's office on how we track projects now. We have grant funds that never existed until the last couple of years. It's a lot more tracking for this position, also our financial manager. So we've had to change a little bit around to be able to satisfy the needs of some of the other departments, basically. And that's just, I think overall, it's a great thing. It helps us track our projects better. It helps for, I think, year-end audits for the auditor's office. It's taken us a couple years to get to this point. But yeah, and I just kind of see the highway sometimes as a little bit unique. We have a lot of employees. I've taken on a lot of duties that, maybe an administrative assistant or a person does with payroll and things like that, time cards on a daily basis. Just because I know others in the department cannot take that on also. We have a lot more budgets. I think I would say we probably process the most claims of any department. And that's extent. I mean, the job, have always felt has always been too low. But it kind of fell in line with some other positions that now I've seen have increased to PAT positions. And I'm just wanting to keep this in line with those positions and the responsibility that this position takes on a daily basis, really.
Well, great. Thank you so much for that explanation. Mr. McKim.
Yeah, so it looks like you've changed the organizational structure. This position
So-
used to report to the financial director.
Pretty much was an assistant to the financial manager. And actually I've done this position. I started at the county in this position.
That's cool.
But this job has to be able to continue doing the things that the financial manager position does in their absence. Not to the extent of monthly auditing with the auditor's office, but you know, if there's a claim to be paid out of one of the TIP budgets or something, that job never really incurred that. But now we put that role into that to keep our bills paid, keep everything rolling in the absence of the financial manager. Just a little bit more cross-training to where they're a little bit more equal. Just to help out and keep the department run efficiency in case somebody's absent. No different than the financial manager doing payroll. In our program, which we don't do it loud, we do it in charts, which we're required to do. So yeah, just kind of getting it more even ground, so that position reports directly to myself.
Do you have any questions or comments, Ms. Hawk?
No, well, we discussed this at length and I encouraged her to bring this forward to Pat. And certainly, I support it going forward.
Michelle, any advice or wisdom to impart?
No, she's completed, the WIS required forms
See
moving
that.
forward, so we're good to go.
All right. Anything from HR?
I think Kim's been involved with our grant under one time.
Yes, I have.
Well, that's the way we like to run it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a quick note here, this is something that we're seeing more of, is a job category, the existing job category is a comment, moving it into a different categorization. This is one more instance of that happening in county government. Just kind of that observation. All right, do we have a motion?
Just to be clear, that WIS may factor it in both, and it may not come out. I mean,
That
we
is
don't
true.
know ahead of
Yes.
time.
That is
I
true.
don't know it's gonna come out, so.
I don't know off the top of my head. Where's it factored right now? Comment. Is
It's
it
a comment. C, is
C.
D highest?
D's the highest?
It's a C.
C.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I move we forward the administrative assistant job description to WIS for classification.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further conversation on the highway department's request for reclassification? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The ayes have it unanimously. Michelle. Thank you so much. We'll get that out there and Michelle, be in touch. Yes. All right, we are gonna kick it over to Zoom land where we have our health administrator, Ms. Lori Kelly. And we have a request for the creation of new positions for the public health response liaison and the behavioral health and wellness coordinator. Those are two separate positions. Ms. Kelly, thank you for joining us. And can you tell us what's going on here?
Sure. So to start off, I did want to see if I could actually delay the discussion of the public health response liaison position for this session and submit that to the next meeting and move forward with discussing the behavioral health and wellness coordinator today.
Pack, how do we feel about that?
That's fine. She's not ready to present.
Yeah.
All right, well then, can you talk to us about the behavioral health and wellness coordinator?
Yes, so the duties in this position are actually all new core service requirements that the state of Indiana has for counties who opt into the Health First Indiana. So as you can see, there are lots of new programs that we're going to have to develop in the health department. There are programs that we need to strengthen. In addition, we need to strengthen our data collection and begin building programs that have specific KPIs that then we will use to report to the Indiana Department of Health. So some of these new core service areas include education and outreach on obesity, diabetes, cancer, for example, forming partnerships with other organizations. This position will be able to support our public health nurses and the school liaison and assist with outreach for health and wellness screenings, including blood pressure, diabetes checks, and mental health screenings.
Well, thank you so much. Let's look at Pack for any questions or comments.
Could you tell me, is this a position that will begin the funding for it will begin at the first of the year, or is that funding that's needed for this year? I mean,
This,
that's kind of a funding question, but I'm just trying to figure out where we address it in our budget for 2024.
so this would begin in 2024 with the additional state funding. And one of the new requirements will be that any new position that we create will have to be posted for a minimum of 30 days before we can actually fill that role. So part of the thought process is being able to start this process so that we can actually begin the interview process, so that hopefully beginning in January or at least early February, we could fill this position.
So we're just getting prepared for it next year.
Would- And on similar funding question, would it be funded out of Health General or the new, I can't remember what it's called, the local health?
It's all one.
So this will be the new state funding, the 1161. So that will be the money that we are getting for opting in. We'll be supporting this program.
And Ms. Kelly, this position as written does not have anybody reporting to the position, correct?
I'll address that. That's all filled out in the WIS forms, and because she didn't really have a job description to go by, they will take the information that she provided plus what is provided in both of those WIS forms to create a final job description. And within that WIS form, it has the reporting structure, which reports directly to the health administrator per the org chart that is in there.
Yeah,
But this position doesn't supervise anybody.
that was my question. There's
Oh,
nobody under this
no.
position.
No,
Okay. All right.
So just to clarify, that means that basically WIS will take the skeleton job descriptions she's already created and kind of rewrite it based on the questionnaire.
right, and then we'll get that back as a draft, and she will look it over before they make the final recommendation.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
Excellent. And all that's in the packet. So if you want to dive deeper on this, it's all there.
And once again, this is gonna be special funding, and we're gonna see a lot of things that we might prefer to have it come out of that special funding. Just,
That's right. Ms. Kelly, you want to talk any about that? I guess, I mean, we don't need to, but Ms. Molly Turner King has something to say too, so you two can fight over who wants to talk first.
I was just gonna say as an update, I know that I've been asked a couple times if we knew when we were receiving that funding, and I still don't have a date yet. Last communication I got from Miss Kelly was that some counties were still deciding whether to opt in or out, and that determines the amount to be distributed to the counties who opt in, and so I think we're still in a waiting process.
All right,
We've already
and
opted
just for clarification, Ms. Hawk just said the same thing. The Monroe County Commissioners have opted into that funding, correct?
We have opted in.
As have at least 88 counties, right?
almost all of them, and we already know what the dollar amount is.
Well, it could be slightly larger. It's not gonna be small. It could be a-
There won't be any less.
Yeah, Ms. Kelly, do you want to speak to this?
It will increase slightly. So the cutoff date has occurred for counties to opt in. So all of that official documentation has been submitted. I have submitted my proposed budget, although I was told that I should be getting the final numbers today. I have not seen it come through yet, but the budget that I submitted the first go around was off of that $1.5 million range. So it will go up slightly, but we don't anticipate it'll go up a whole lot. But then this money will be sent out in one large chunk in January 2024.
Great, thank you so much. Mr. McKinney, sorry.
I just wanted to clarify the function, the behavioral health and wellness is one of the required functions under the new program. So we are essentially required to do this, whether we call it this position or not, we're required to do it.
Correct, yes. And so pretty much the majority of this job description was basically taken from these areas that we're not currently meeting that we need to begin meeting beginning in 2024.
Sounds good.
Sure. All right, I think we're at that point where a motion could be heard.
move we forward the behavioral health and wellness coordinator position to us.
Second,
We have a motion and a second, is there any other conversation regarding this
No.
position? All right, all those, in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it unanimously. Ms. Kelly, go forth and do great things.
Okay, great, thank you.
We'll get this to Wits and, Michelle will be in touch. All right, let me get back to the agenda. I think we are at the point where we are talking about the assessor's job description, having a discussion about this. I'm looking to my PAC colleagues. This is gonna be a very cursory discussion because we just received some information
right,
that I have not seen prior to the start of this meeting. So let's talk.
Right, and since I'm the liaison for the assessor.
Yes, ma'am.
After receiving the email, that was read in part at the council meeting that was so traumatic. It didn't get to the part where she was discussing, that positions being, the duties being done in the assessor's office was very akin to some of the duties being done in the auditor's office, and they were positioned at PAC positions, and theirs is that comment. So I suggested, with conversations with others, that we put next to their job description, perhaps so we could make some kind of decision on that. But she was told she was too late to get to, to make a presentation
Yeah.
at this meeting. And so I would not expect anyone to make a decision. However, I think we're going to have time to review it. And she was told she couldn't go back until November because we weren't having a meeting in October. Now, I know we're busy, but we're talking about real people.
Yes, ma'am.
And they want their salaries adjusted like everybody else's.
So all of us have a packet in front of us that is not available to the public. And I was wondering if you, since you're the liaison, could you summarize what's in the packet that we're looking at?
I hope you understand. I'm seeing it today.
Yes, ma'am. I
haven't reviewed it.
all right.
But I have no objection to it all going out to the public. Did all the other job descriptions we discussed today, is that public? Zoe?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's all in the packet.
It's in the packet.
No reason, and I'm like, there's not, why should anything be a secret?
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right,
This,
I'm just suggesting, the reason for this conversation is, because she missed her deadline, that I'm suggesting that we make sure that we don't skip October. Take a brief moment and discuss these once it's done.
excellent. Michelle, I'm looking to you for advice on what to do with this packet where she so generously put my name on the front of it.
I asked, the assessor to send me the Word version or, her
We
version.
each got our own personalized
Yeah.
copy.
And
Oh,
so
come on.
she said she
Pop
would
my
send
bubble.
it to me. I briefly looked through one of these. This does not contain any of the WIS forms that's required for the classification, so I will be working with her on getting a WIS form for each of the job descriptions presented in this packet here. With that, I can. We can set up a time for October. To have a meeting so that this can be discussed at that time. We didn't set a time in October due to the fact that we have a public hearing on the 3rd. Otherwise, we would have had one. We can go ahead and have a meeting on that Tuesday, the 3rd, or if you have a different date that you would like to have.
At this point, do you know of additional business that would be coming before PAC for an October meeting?
I would say anything that I send off today would be back in time for that October meeting. So
So there
yes,
could be stuff.
there could be stuff so that we could move forward.
I'm not opposed to having an October meeting.
Yeah, let's just not load it up with 10 other things, but let's be able to get in and out. And, The
Well-
departments are saying so many others move up to Pat A. This is not.
Yeah, I
unlike the
know.
highway department
This
as
is,
well.
this is a trend.
I will say that at least one of these looks like it's an attempt to move from a Pat, Comet to a Pat D, which is the highest level Pat
Well, and
Billy had.
I-
I mean, that's a stretch. Maybe it'll
Let's-
work, but
And it
But-
there will be that some, conversation saying that it really looks like it might be more X, Y, or Z, but it really would be up to West to
Yeah.
say,
Mhm.
they had a comment, move to
Well-
Pat A.
Well, and that's part of the WIS forms.
Yes.
It asks if, what you're seeking, so then that way they know how to look at the job descriptions across the entire county. So if you're seeking, if like the one for the YSB, they're seeking a C, so they're gonna check out all the other Cs that we've got,
That's right.
kind of
Well,
thing.
and-
And if anything is.
I think that point bears like repeating that for every single department, we have the same procedure. So whether, you're in any department, you still go through Kim Shell, you still fill out the questionnaire and you work that way. And that's what we do for every single department.
Yeah.
And if folks come to PAC and it seems like it's not something that we should be dealing with and goes straight to council or goes to WIS, we'll tackle that. But we generally don't say no to people. So
Right,
unless like today, Ms. Kelly just wasn't ready to do that one job description,
correct,
we're here for everybody.
correct.
All right.
So, would you like to move forward with an October 3rd meeting at noon?
Might be really great at least go ahead and get that scheduled. If we could just, know when it's ready to go off the list, if we could meet any earlier. So that we could have an idea of how those salaries might have to be adjusted when we're doing the salary ordinance. But the sooner the better, however, we need to work it.
October the 3rd works for me, and it also seems to give you time to get what we did today off to WIS and to hear back from WIS.
Well, are you wanting to review these and, the job descriptions with the WIS forms prior? Or are you saying I can work with the assessor and go ahead and forward these on?
Oh, no, no. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
okay,
that.
all right. Okay, so
Just
then,
again, let's give us a date so we can look at
Okay.
whatever changes that might need to be made, get our other forms ready. So that we can decide, send it off to Wes or not.
And also
Okay.
advertise it so that everyone else can see what we're
right,
doing.
right,
I
okay,
don't want to be operating behind the scenes.
okay.
No secrets.
Okay.
Yep, no secrets.
So how does October 3rd
Yeah,
look?
That's good for me.
What day is it?
It's a Tuesday.
it's when it would ordinarily
It would have
be.
ordinarily been, but we had already scheduled the public hearing, so that's why we said we would schedule an October meeting if we needed to, so. Okay, so October,
And so if you don't get that back until November, when do we vote? When's the final vote on salary?
we have to approve the salary ordinance at the October 17th meeting, but it can be amended after that.
Just wanted to get that on record.
Yes.
That I knew, just wanted.
Okay, all right. You were testing me is what it was.
No.
All right, before we approve the minutes and before we adjourn, Ms. Molly Turner King has been waiting patiently to talk about an issue that is burning in her mind. Ms. Molly Turner King, what's going on?
So recently Kim and I had sat down and we were looking at the job classification and compensation maintenance
Oh.
plan.
Hang on,
And I'm gonna-
Molly, hang on.
We're gonna
just a
put closed
second,
captioning on.
If I can figure it out.
It's on more.
Her tone of
More,
voice
more.
doesn't work.
Show, oh, there it is. Sorry, okay. Thanks, Molly, for
Thank you,
waiting.
Molly, appreciate that.
So what I was saying was Kim and I had the opportunity to sit down and look at the job classification and compensation maintenance plan provided by WIS, and I'm going to share that document right now. And so this document outlines the on 2 occasions that a department can ask for a reclassification of a job duty. and scroll down. Those two occasions are when a position becomes vacant or when a reorganization of an office occurs. In practice, that's not really what we've been doing. We've been allowing for a third situation, which I would like to propose be added to the maintenance plan. And I've drafted some language down here in red that I think captures what we've been allowing departments to do, which is add or adjust job duties when it becomes necessary to improve departmental operations, customer service, accountability, or better governance for that department. I think all of the reclassification requests today kind of fall within that third category, but right now there isn't a third category. So I would propose adding that language to the maintenance plan.
I have no problem with that. I mean, in fact, I kind of feel like that's a better, it's a better reason for seeking a reclassification than number one.
Right.
And along the same lines, I didn't draft it for today, but I can draft additional language to account for the situation we just talked about with YSB, which is when a department would be responsible for the payment of that reclassification.
Not the department, the fund.
The
There's a
fund.
difference. It's the fund, because it's coming out of a different pot of money.
Okay.
And I'm not just picking on YSB, it's just any different part of money.
So a department that has additional funds in, other than general, or is that?
Yeah. The fund,
Yeah.
right,
I'm gonna say I do have one concern about that,
okay.
and maybe we can address it, but what I don't want is to set up a situation where the department head making the request is the client of WIS.
One, no.
I mean, we need to be the client
Mhm.
regardless of who's paying for it. So as long as, I don't mind paying for it out of another source from another fund, that's fine. But I wanna make sure that we are always the client and that they are responding to us and not bending their
Right.
decision based on who's paying for it.
And there is historical precedent where that has happened.
And
Yes.
right, remember when we had a department head go up there and tap on their doorstep,
yeah.
not what they wanted?
Yes,
And
and,
that just set up a whole, bad, fortune.
right, and
Missed a little one peeking its head into the.
so we have spoken with WIS and representatives, and so they know unless it comes from the council office, and or, a council member, it does not get processed unless they contact us first.
Well, and that was reconstituted in the position we talked about today, where the position that you currently hold
Right.
is that representative.
Right, and yeah, and WIS knows that they are to contact the council office before, if anybody out, does that.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, I don't wanna make a big old to-do of this, I just thought it would be great not to all come out of county general.
Yeah,
But I also don't want West to be waiting on, the other departments, then they have to get some kind of approval for appropriation, yada, yada.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know, I mean, let's have some thought.
Yeah,
behind it.
I think Ms. Molly Turner King, can you draft some language that we can review?
I can draft some language and then we can review it at the October 3rd meeting.
My only thought is just to keep there from being some sort of inequity between a department that has those funds.
Right.
To be able to do
Good
that,
point.
so having language in there to make things equitable across all of the departments.
Good point.
So, yeah, so
Yeah.
what if the department doesn't have that additional?
Yeah.
Right, I think it's just, it's just an opportunity to recapture some of that funding if it comes from a different source, but I agree, we use the same criteria and the same gatekeeping.
Right,
For
and
everybody.
we could just put it as the option, we could decide that as we go.
Yeah.
Rather than, I don't know why we gotta have great big long list of,
Yeah.
legalese to it. We could just have a motion as we go.
Ms. Turner King, do you have enough marching orders from us to move forward?
I do. I can draft language for the October 3rd meeting.
Thank you much, Lee. You're very appreciated.
Great.
And then once the PAC agrees to that language, then the whole plan has to go to the council for approval.
Of course,
Yep.
yeah. All right, I'm looking back at our agenda and seeing that we have some July 11th, 2023 minutes to approve. Are there any changes to that? I'm gonna ask for approval by acclamation. Everyone know there are no changes. And we are adjourned.
Thank you.
We'll see you in October the 3rd.
All right, that wasn't too bad. It was only an hour.
We still got it under an hour.
3 minutes is fair.
By the way, there's no way I'm setting the budget hearings.